Top 10 Disturbing Interviews with Evil People. Evil is weak, for a soul that has conceived one wickedness cannot nurture another. When we enter another person's thoughts, we can encounter something absolutely horrifying, since the marathon of good versus evil is unpleasant to witness. So, a chat with a serial killer has the potential to be one of the top 10 most disturbing interviews ever. Join us. Number 1. Elizabeth Wettlaufer. We have a killer nurse in the first one. She murdered her patients before returning home to play video games. Wettlaufer was charged with 8 counts of first-degree murder, 4 counts of attempted murder, and 2 counts of aggravated assault in total. Wettlaufer, a long-term care worker in southern Western Ontario, used insulin to kill individuals in her care over a period of years. She was aware of the difference between good and wrong, but she claimed that this was something that God, or whatever, intended her to do. Wettlaufer admits to binging on hydromorphone despite having been diagnosed with major depressive illness, borderline personality disorder, and antisocial adult conduct. Number 2. Robert Durst. Here was a man who had decapitated and dismembered his neighbor's body, and now he was debating the weight of a human head, his own, without a hint of irony. Kathleen, Durst's first wife, was murdered along with that. Durst is the main suspect in the assassination of crime writer Susan Berman, his dearest friend and confidant. Robert Durst, a real estate heir, appears to admit killing 3 people in the last episode of HBO's documentary series The Jinx. He enters a bathroom grumbling, without removing his wireless microphone, which he uses for interviews. There you have it. You've been discovered. What the heck did I do? Of course, I killed them all. Number 3. Daniel Wozniak. Wozniak, a community theater performer, was found guilty in 2015 of murdering his neighbor, Army veteran Sam Herr, and his companion Julie Kibushi, a college student and dancer, in 2010. He informed cops that it was about the money he needed for his upcoming wedding and honeymoon with fellow actor Buffett. Herr, his next-door neighbor and friend, had $62,000 in savings from his military pay. Wozniak persuaded his friend to accompany him to a theater attic, claiming that he needed assistance shifting equipment. Wozniak double-shot Herr when he asked for assistance. Later, he pretended to be Herr and texted Kibushi using Herr's cell phone. Wozniak led Kibushi into Herr's apartment when she arrived, where he shot her in the back of the head and then went on the run and was arrested. Number 4. ANDREI CHIKATILO. CHIKATILO was a big reader who particularly interested in accounts of German prisoners in war being tortured by their Soviet captors during World War II. CHIKATILO's social shyness and self-hatred were worsened when he found he had chronic impotence at the age of adolescence. CHIKATILO had hydrocephalus, which is a buildup of water in his brain causing damage to brain tissues as well as deficits in brain function. He also had extensive damage to his urinary tract, which caused him to frequently wet his bed. He was apprehended and admitted to assaulting students while working as a teacher, but he denied the murders. Number 5. David Berkowitz. David was a loner and an aggressive child as a child. He was said to be a bright child who did not engage much in social engagement. His major targets were young girls and couples in less busy regions. He even threatened to kill several of his neighbors by stabbing them. Berkowitz seemed to relish the attention his case was getting from the media, and he went on to sell his exclusive narrative rights to a publishing business. This caused New York State to enact the first of a statewide series of so-called Son of Sam laws, which require criminals to donate the money from their sale of their narrative to a victim's compensation fund. Number 6. Michael Beaver. In a late-night attack in Tulsa in July 2015, Robert, then 18, and his brother Michael Beaver, then 16, stabbed their parents and 3 siblings to death. The 2 of them were apprehended after a 13-year-old sister who had survived the attack identified them as the murderers of the Broken Arrow murder. The brothers reportedly had 3,000 tons of ammunition brought to their home after the stabbings, which they planned to use to kill as many people as possible in order to become as renowned as Columbine shooters Dylan Klebold and Eric Harris. Their aim was to silently and secretly murder each member of their family, but it appears to have failed. Number 7. Angela Simpson. Angela Simpson, a Phoenix woman who impaled, stabbed, strangled, beat, and pulled the teeth from a disabled man before removing him and setting the chunks of his body on fire. Simpson took his teeth out, hammered a nail into his head, smashed him with a tire iron, stabbed him 50 times, and strangled him, among other things. She then dismembered his body and tossed the fragments into a trash container, which she set on fire. When Simpson was interviewed, she was already in jail on an unrelated armed robbery charge. Aside from the words she speaks, what's most frightening about Simpson is how straightforward and her calm, laid-back nature only adds to her terror. Number 8. Manuel Vela. Religion either leads or gives a way for many people to comprehend how the world works or should work. Katrina Rivera, who was 9 months pregnant at the time, went missing in 2016. Vela and Rivera had an on-again off-again relationship, which could be attributed to Vela's violent actions. Vela informed interviewers that his girlfriend and her child were murdered as part of a religious and political statement. He went on to explain that he's the Antichrist and that the voices in his head were directing him. He further admitted that his killing his child was an attempt to rid himself of a bad bloodline that appeared to follow him, which the cops took as another reference to Vela's belief that he was the Antichrist. Number 9. Ted Bundy. He recalled being antisocial and wandering the streets looking for discarded pornography or open windows through which he could spy on unsuspecting women in interviews. Bundy would adopt a pretext to prey on these ladies, typically wearing a sling on his arm or a fake cast on his leg and walking on crutches. Bundy frequently removed the passenger seat and stowed it in the trunk or back seat, leaving an empty spot on the floor for his victim to sleep out of sight as he drove away. Bundy was finally caught after a search of the truck turned up masks, handcuffs, rope, and other evil goods, but no conclusive evidence linking him to the killings. Bundy escaped prison twice and then sentenced to death for the 3rd time. Number 10. Beth Thomas. HBO aired a documentary about Beth Thomas, a 12-year-old girl in 1990. It includes footage of Beth discussing abuse she had undergone and inflicted on others in great detail and without emotion. She used pins to stab her brother. She intended to assassinate her parents. In her first 2 years of existence, Thomas was subjected to a great deal of trauma. Her birth mother died when she was 1 year old. The children's well-being was ignored by the birth father, also mistreated Beth physically on a regular basis. Beth's adoptive parents eventually locked her in her own room every night and sought treatment for her mental illness. And that's all for today, folks. I hope you liked this video. Also, if you haven't yet subscribed to our channel, do not wait for it, and along with that, do press the bell icon to get yourself notified for more amazing videos. Until then, adios.